Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of the 740 Sports All Access pregame show, week 8 of the high school football season, where we'll preview the games coming up this Friday, as well as look back at week 7's results. For Sean Williams, producing the show, I'm merely Tom Strasser, and my partner in crime, none other than the one and only D-Train. He is the voice of high school football. And Train, it's hard to believe week 8 of the high school football. And as we look back to week 7, for all three of our local teams, it was a rough week 7.
Yeah, I can relate. It was a rough week for me too, being a Chicago sports fan
and Raiders fan, and Razorbacks fan. It was a rough week for everybody.
Yeah, so it was just we need to just kind of like skip this week and maybe not really talk so much about it. Definitely a disappointing. A great start for Cambridge and Buckeye Trail. Buckeye Trail and Cambridge both had an early 7-0 lead. Looked good early on. Unfortunately, late game and Union Local hit some big plays against them. And then Meadowbrook, I know we talked off the air, and he's like, and you told me about how, man, Train, you're making Coshocton sound like they're the best 0-6 team in the state of Ohio. And I was like, that's a trap game. And unfortunately, it got Meadowbrook, and Coshocton's a lot better than what their record indicates.
Yeah, we talked about that. They had lost a lot of close games against some quality opponents. Train, I always ask, I don't want to know your record. I want to know who you played. And they've played some good football, and they've come in this situation before and got a big win. And unfortunately, Meadowbrook lost to Coshocton, who played their best game of the year.
Oh, definitely.
So we got plenty to talk about on our all-access pregame show, sponsored by Park Circle Cafe. Be sure to thank Heather for sponsoring our show this season whenever you visit Park Circle Cafe. So that wraps up our opening segment. We'll take a timeout, and when we come back, we'll talk Cambridge Bobcat football and look back at their game against Union Local and look ahead to their road game at Warren after this timeout.
Hey, it's Heather from Park Circle Cafe. All of us from Park Circle would like to wish our local football teams, the cheerleaders, and the band good luck this season. If you're out this weekend, stop by Park Circle. We have live music all of September on Saturday. This weekend we have Russ Monkey, 7 to 10 on the patio. Next weekend we have Randy Gleason and a DJ and karaoke coming in. So stop by for some great food and a good time at Park Circle Cafe. Go Bobcats, Colts, Muskies, and Warriors.
And we're back on the 740 Sports All Access pregame show, sponsored this season once again by Park Circle Cafe. And we are now ready to talk some Cambridge Bobcats and Train. Cambridge had a big showdown, and we knew talking to Coach Leak last week that they were going to be a handful. Cambridge back home. Nice crowd. It was good to see the Bobcats back at home and taking on a Union Local Jet team we knew would present a lot of problems. And I told you, hey, Carpenter's going to throw for at least 5 touchdowns and over 500 yards. I guaranteed it. And but of course, both starting quarterbacks. His last name is Carpenter. So you combine their stats. That's exactly what we got.
And credit Garrett Carpenter and that Cambridge offense. That first drive that they put together was near perfect. Completed every pass on the drive. They mixed in a couple runs here or there. But, I mean, that first drive was a thing of beauty, and finished it with a 17-yard touchdown pass to Devin Ogle. I mean, it looked like things were going in the right direction for Cambridge. But, man, the big plays of Union Local just was too much for him.
And Train, don't forget the week before, Cambridge was down 48-20 at halftime against East Liverpool. Cambridge put up 34 points on the board in the second half and were within an onside kick, recovering that, of having a chance to score and send it to overtime. And like you said, that opening drive, it was like they were still at East Liverpool, because you're right, they really looked crisp in moving the football against a talented Jet defense.
Oh, the Union Local's pretty good, and they have been the past 2 or 3 years. But, I mean, I can't compliment Coach Leake and his staff as great as that first drive was. It just seemed like everything was open. They really put themselves in positions to be successful. The players executed, whether scripted or unscripted, those first few plays just near perfection, really.
And Train, when Union Local got things rolling, the Bobcat defense, we've talked about their youth, and they've really been thrown in the fire this year. You know, Coach Leake has talked about that. But Cambridge has played well in spurts the second half against East Liverpool. The defense, after giving up 48 points in the first half, only gave up a couple of scores in the second half against a talented Potter squad. But again, the big plays, penalties, and again, the inability to wrap up consistently came back to bite them.
Yeah, to say there were some odd events in that game would be accurate. I remember at one point, Cambridge had the ball 1st and 10. I believe it was their own 34. Threw an incomplete pass. The referee spotted the ball, and it was at the 33. So instead of being 1st and 10 after an incomplete pass, it's a 2nd and 10. It was 2nd and 11, which I didn't understand. There was just some crazy shenanigans going on during that game at times that I didn't really understand. But yes, credit Union Local. They hit 3 of their 6 touchdowns were from at least 33 yards. Saunders had a 33-yard touchdown reception and a 60-yard touchdown reception. That's why he's their big play receiver. And the Perzanowski kid, he's a freshman. I'm sure the Union Local faithful were probably chanting that at some point during Friday night's game. He finished with 172 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. So just really a lot of talent on that team. And those 2 are probably 2 of the better duo weapons as far as run and receiving guys that are around in the area.
Yeah, and you know, you have a youngster, like you said, 172 yards, 2 touchdowns. But again, talk about the Carpenter kid. He had a Justin Fields-like performance, 12 attempts, 11 completions for 260 yards.
Yeah, he just did a great job of getting to his open receivers and letting them make plays. I mean, we talked about Saunders. He did a great job, and then he also hit Gannon Kearns for a 17-yard touchdown pass. And that name may sound familiar to you guys because he is the nephew of the man that we're going to have up in our next segment in Buckeye Trail head coach Donnie Kearns. So definitely the Kearns football legacy runs strong, even though it's not at Buckeye Trail. It's over at Union Local, a little east.
Yeah, and Cambridge again, and Train, one thing we want to definitely mention, going back to the East Liverpool game, we talked about the phenomenal game that Devin Ogle had. 20 receptions, 345?
Yeah, 345.
345 yards. You were able to dig into the all-time state of Ohio record books, and what did you come up with?
Yeah, it looks like he's going to be 3rd all-time in the state, tied with the 20 receptions for 3rd, and then the 345 yards is 3rd in the state of Ohio from the records that I saw on the OHSAA website. So, of course, that's pretty much public knowledge. Everybody can go on there and look and check out those records. But, I mean, I know it's not number 1, but, man, you talk. Well, that's a great accomplishment for that kid. And he continued to add to the record book at Cambridge Friday when he had his big game, 4 catches, 165 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, the kid's a playmaker. He makes plays, he makes things happen, and he's a threat when he steps on the field.
Yeah, and if you're the Union Local coaching staff, you got to be sitting there thinking, wait, we're going to hold the kid who had 20 receptions. He's only going to get 4 for the entire game. All right, great job. But goes for 165 yards, and half of his catches are touchdowns. And I'm going to let you show off your math. 4 catches, 165 yards. That's how many yards a pop.
I'm going to say about 41. Just 41.25.
Unbelievable the season that Devin Ogle continues to have. And like Coach Leak, gave a shout out to some of the colleges. Hey, anyone looking for a receiver, this kid can play.
Yeah, definitely can play. And let's not slide another guy who I thought had a nice game was Clayton Myers. He did was in the running backfield there a little bit, had a couple good carries for him. Also finished with 5 catches for 74 yards. So it's just another guy that's getting in there in the offense, another weapon for other teams to worry about.
Yeah, and Garrett Carpenter, 279 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. The sophomore continues to have a magical season statistically. Unbelievable. And now train Cambridge back on the road. They're going to take on Warren. And what can you tell us about the Warriors?
Yeah, so Warren's coming in 2-5. All but one of their losses have been within 11 points. So they've been in games to the end. They haven't really been able to get over the hump. So obviously Cambridge can kind of relate with that. They're led by junior QB Jacob Seeley, who has over 1,000 yards passing and 8 touchdown passes this year. His go-to receivers Tanner Pepper, who's averaging about 100 yards receiving a game. So again, it's going to come down to what Coach Leak says every week he's been up here. It's going to come down to taking care of the football, not making mistakes and penalties, controlling the offensive line, and getting to the football and tackling.
And Train, I tell you, there's very few receivers that we've covered since we've been doing this show that averages 100 yards receiving a game. That's impressive. And you know who Cambridge will have the bullseye on in the secondary.
Well, you know who Warren's going to have the bullseye on the other side, because let's not forget, again, Devin Ogle, as Billy Madison says, he's good. So they're going to definitely that's going to be a nice matchup of, say, who can one-up the other between Pepper and Ogle for sure.
Now, and Train, the one thing is the way Cambridge, the way they've been able to throw the football. When you look at the Warrior defense, a couple of stats really stand out. And if you're the Cambridge offensive line, the young line that's been ravaged with injuries, that has continued to progress as the season has gone, especially in pass protection. The 2 stats you want to touch on does give Cambridge really some confidence that, hey, this could be a real big night for us.
Yeah, through the first 6 games, Warren has 5 total sacks and 5 total interceptions. So, again, it's going to be a battle, because we know the Cambridge, when they're getting off that bus, Carpenter's got his football in hand, and he's rolling out, and he's looking for number 5. And if you don't know who number 5 is, you must not watch too many Cambridge games. That's Devin Ogle, and he's been pretty good this year for him, if you haven't been able to pick up on what we've laid down here so far.
Yeah, so Carpenter, if he has time to throw the football, like you said, there's Ogle, but there's been some other guys who have been stepping up because of injuries.
Yeah, and they're getting guys a little bit healthier. Kaiser's been coming back. Edwards has come back. The Schultz kid has stepped up and had some good ball games for him. So they're developing some weapons to help with those guys. Obviously, Clayton Myers had a nice game Friday night. I want to make sure I get everybody mentioned here. And then I know there was times during the live stream they mentioned Reed Johnson, but I think he only played defensively, and obviously he's another kid. If they can get him back and get him into the flow of the offense, he's a solid 1B to Ogle's 1A.
And Train, real quick as we get ready to head to break, 2 big keys that Cambridge has to do well to get a big road win.
Oh, the easy thing is control the line of scrimmage. They're both on the offensive and defensive end, and defensively, they got to tackle. They got to limit the big plays. The big plays is what hurt them the first 7 weeks of the season. Make a team put a 10, 15, 20 play drive together for a touchdown. Let's see if somebody can do that, step up and make some plays. And because, hey, let's face it, Carpenter's going to get his numbers. I mean, I don't know if there is a defense that can stop the Carpenter to Ogle connection. You may be able to to slow it down, but you can't stop it. They got a good connection going right now.
All right, and we want to wish Coach Leak and the Cambridge Bobcats the best of luck as they travel to take on the Warren Warriors. And we'll take a timeout here on the 740 Sports All Access pregame show. And when we come back, we're going to sit down and have a visit here at the studio live with the head football coach of the Buckeye Trails, Donnie Kearns, after this timeout on our pregame show sponsored by Park Circle Cafe. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's Heather from Park Circle Cafe. All of us from Park Circle would like to wish our local football teams, the cheerleaders, and the band good luck this season. If you're out this weekend, stop by Park Circle. We have live music all of September on Saturday. This weekend we have Russ Monkey, 7 to 10 on the patio. Next weekend we have Randy Gleason and a DJ and karaoke coming in. So stop by for some great food and a good time at Park Circle Cafe. Go Bobcats, Colts, Muskies, and Warriors.
Welcome back to the 740 Sports All Access pregame show sponsored by Park Circle Cafe for the dynamic duo of Sean and Kevon producing the show this week, and my partner in crime, D-Train, the voice of high school football. I'm merely Tom Strasser, and now it's time to move to the Buckeye Trail segment, and we're truly honored to be joined by the head coach of the Buckeye Trail Warriors, Donnie Kearns. And Coach, before we look ahead to your game on the road at Strasburg this week, let's look back against you played a powerhouse Malvern Hornets in their backyard and went toe-to-toe with them. Got the early 7-0 lead, was tied 7-7 at halftime. First, let's talk about the first half.
Yeah, we went up 7-0 in the first quarter and stopped them on the 10-yard line and had about an 85-yard drive going and scored. The board's 13-0 and the holding call, took the touchdown off the board. And we didn't end up scoring on that drive. And we were never the same after that. We continued to play hard, but we were playing at a different level prior to that. I tell you, Malvern kids, kind of when you see them on our sideline, they almost felt like, they're about to give up. I mean, we were hitting them, we were being more physical than them, and we went in halftime 7-7. Still, a great position to be in against that Malvern team. But
yeah, and Trail was able to have some success running the football.
Oh yeah, when you got the most electrifying player in the IVC, in my opinion, in Cohen Egan. I mean, he's just continuing to have a great year. He finished with 120 yards rushing, and then when you can get Charlie Perry going in from the backfield with 65 yards rushing, how important is that makes you guys, when that running game's clicking, how important is that to you guys' offense?
Oh, well, we want to run the football. And we formationed them a little bit, showed some things that we hadn't shown. And, because in recent years, they've done a good job of stopping our buck sweep. So we threw in a formation, and our buck sweep was successful. And, we formationed them, and it was just, I don't know. We were running the football right down their throats, and come out the second half, they made an adjustment, and we were still doing all right, but it just wasn't the same. But when you can get Cohen and Charlie going both together, we're pretty effective.
And Coach, in the first half, we talked about you're up 7-0, then you have the touchdown taken off the board, which would have gave you a 2-touchdown lead. Malvern ties it up at halftime. So defensively, the first half, you had to be doing a lot of nice things to hold a high-powered offense at home to 7 points at the half. Talk about your defense and some of the things they were doing to have success against the Hornets.
Yeah, Coach Nichols and Coach Perry, came together, and for you can look back on film for the last 7 years, every year we play Malvern, they have a bubble slant play that gives us fits, and nobody else gives us fits like that with bubble slant. And we took away bubble slant, and you know what? And then sure enough, they hit it, and but our defense played so well, and they played well the whole game really, but we got beaten coverage, and just one mistake just piled up, and it wasn't even really a mistake, but once the holding call happened on the touchdown, things just piled up, and we just didn't play as well defensively as we had been. I'll tell you about that first quarter and 3 quarters, first quarter and about 4 minutes ago in the second, it was, I mean, that was as good football as we've played at Buckeye Trail since I've been there.
And that's really tough because they got 2 great wide receivers on the outside, and Smith and Phillips are really a tough matchup. And probably going into this game, probably you would say your biggest weakness is a little bit on the pass defense, but credit your secondary, but also credit those guys on the line. Jackson Hess, what a ball game out of him. He ended up with 4 sacks to go with 8 tackles. Probably. Brady Hastings got a sack. So getting pressure on the quarterback was a big help to kind of take a little bit of pressure off that secondary for you guys.
Yeah, Jackson probably played one of the best games that, I've seen any kid play since I've been at Buckeye Trail. 4 sacks. He controlled the line of scrimmage, but we would get them in 3rd and longs, and they would hit something, and that happened a few times. It was just, I don't know, it was tough.
Yeah, and Withrow, he's an outstanding quarterback. So, Coach, tied at halftime, 3rd quarter, they score a touchdown, and it's still just a 1-score game going into the 4th. What was the mood like on the sidelines?
That's when, the kids, you didn't see the fire. Like, you still seen the fire when we came out at halftime, but it 14-7, and it was almost like, something bad happened, something else bad's going to happen. And that's where we've got to get over that hump and, create a good play. We got to create a big play, and we didn't in that second half. And it's, they just, 1 or 2 bad plays. You could look at that huddle film, and if you take away probably 3 clips, you take away 3 or 4 clips from that huddle film, you think we won that football game. We controlled the football game. If you take away 3 or 4 clips, you would think we dominated it.
So again, this is just feeling so familiar to Sunday for me with my Bears and them blowing their game. I'm almost getting tears right now as you're just frustrating me with these comments. Mm-hmm. But you've got to credit your team because, like you said, every week you're up here, it's like your kids, they just never quit and they always battle no matter what the score. And obviously, just with young men, it's tough because you're just finding that way to get over that hump. And I think once you guys get over that hump, I think there's going to be nothing but good things for you guys.
Yeah, and that's it. Like we knew going into the season that we were going to have to get better each and every week if we were going to win a lot of games, and we have gotten better each and every week, for sure. But it's been an uphill battle. The schedule's good, and I'm so proud of our kids. That's what it's all about. I'm proud of them. They're good kids, and they play really hard. It's just a tough year.
And again, you have different folks, again on the defensive side of the ball who have stepped in due to injuries and stuff, and really played well and come on. Blake Wable being one, another fine performance out of Blake Wable, who really showed out in the homecoming victory the week before, and then goes to Malvern and comes up with 6 tackles.
Great. Blake's having a good season. I know that Blake is a running back first, but I'll tell you what, man, he is a really good safety. Really good. I don't know if he knows how good he could be at that position.
Yeah, and a heck of an athlete. That's for sure.
Yep.
And so, Coach, you now have to put behind the tough loss, and now 3-game stretch. Of course, 1 game at a time. But you head to Strasburg, and what can you tell us about the Tigers?
I'll tell you what, they run a lot of plays. it's not the Strasburg team that we played last year and beat 37-0. They are well coached. You know, they know what they're doing. They run a ton of stuff, and that's kind of what we've kind of focused on all week is, you know, not really their plays, because I'm telling you, we could not get through all their plays in a week's time, but we're lining up to their formations. So if we can, we're going to line up to their formations and play our defense and try to stop their plays. But they do a ton of stuff.
Yeah, they've definitely, like you said, this isn't the Strasburg team that people's known the past few years. Obviously, their new coach this year was former head coach and has returned to Strasburg. And when he was there the first time, they had some good winning teams. And obviously, they're coming off a win last week over East Canton 12-7. But they're definitely a matchup that you can't take lightly for sure.
Yeah, we've already told our kids that this will be a football game. I mean, I'm not saying it's Barnesville, but you know what? It's going to be a football game.
Yeah, and Coach, as you know, Train has said throughout the year, another example here for Strasburg. Last year when you played them, they started a freshman quarterback. Well, it's amazing, as Train likes to say, what a year will do in the weight room and just maturing. Now all of a sudden this freshman quarterback is a sophomore, and wow, he can spin the football.
And he's a heck of a basketball player too.
Oh, I'm very well aware of that. Yes.
But yeah, he's a nice athlete. They actually, against East Canton, they did not play him at quarterback until late in the third quarter. They played him at tight end and running back, and when they needed a drive, you know, they put him in, and he led the game-winning drive in the final couple of minutes, and they stayed in an empty formation all the way down the field, and that kind of concerns me. I think that's probably what, you know, what I think they might think that they maybe found some lightning in a bottle. So we've been, you know, repping a ton of empty, you know, this week, and you know, when he gets in that empty set, he's dangerous because he can run the football. He's a big kid. He's athletic, you know, so that it's concerning. I mean, it truly is.
Yeah, and don't let them shoot the three. If don't leave them open for that. Oh, I still stuck on your basketball comment. Go ahead, Train.
So I watched a little bit of film on him, and I think the big key for you guys is offensive and defensive line. I feel Strasburg doesn't really have the big size up front, and I feel, especially coming off last week against Malvern for you guys, that you can possibly take some advantages and win some of those matchups.
Yeah, if we can win the battle in the line of scrimmage, we'll be successful. That's for sure, because we'll run buck sweep, and buck sweep's a hard play to stop. When we stop winning battles in the line of scrimmage, you know, buck sweep don't go well, and you know what, we're pretty easy to stop. So yeah, it's going to come down to the line of scrimmage, and offensively and defensively. You know, defensively just, you know, kind of getting pressure, try with 3 or 4, hopefully, and you know, trying to get things done.
And Coach, don't let my partner in crime, his modesty, fool you. Nobody breaks down more game film during the week and weekend preparing for our show every week than this guy does right here.
Well,
So
I only have to break down more film than you, so it's
that's true. That's a good point. But so you look, and then let's look on the defensive side of the football for Strasburg. What problems do they present for you?
They're going to run a 3-4, I assume, and I think that their nose guard's pretty good. He's concerning, and their left defensive end is a concern. So, and then the quarterback plays outside linebacker. So we have to try to get our athletes in space, and you know, like I said, we got to create double teams on the line of scrimmage, and you know, and move them. I mean, that's what we have to do. So,
and Coach, give us a couple of keys that if you do well, you got a good chance to come home with a big road win.
we have to run the football well. We have to complete a timely pass, and we have to rally to the football, run to the football, and you know, tackle.
All right. Well, Coach, again, as always, we want to thank you for coming up and spending time with us this weekend on our pregame show. And good luck to you, the coaching staff, and the boys Friday night at Strasburg.
I greatly appreciate it. Did you know Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce were dating?
Breaking news here.
We got to go to break so I
Wow.
can hear about this.
All right.
No, I was not aware of that.
They are.
Wow, Travis Kelsey and Taylor Swift
She
dating.
made him famous.
God,
Good for her.
goodness. What'd you say his name was again?
Travis Kelsey.
Kelsey. Okay, gotcha. All right. That
Heard
sounds.
it, and I know Jason never heard of Travis, so
All right. Well, that concludes our Buckeye Trail segment with the one and only head coach, Donnie Kearns. And we'll take a timeout and come back here on the 740 Sports All Access pregame show, sponsored by Park Circle Cafe. And when we come back, we'll talk a little Meadowbrook football on the other side of the break after this timeout.
Hey, it's Heather from Park Circle Cafe. All of us from Park Circle would like to wish our local football teams, the cheerleaders, and the band good luck this season. If you're out this weekend, stop by Park Circle. We have live music all of September on Saturday. This weekend we have Russ Monkey, 7 to 10 on the patio. Next weekend we have Randy Gleason and a DJ and karaoke coming in. So stop by for some great food and a good time at Park Circle Cafe. Go Bobcats, Colts, Muskies, and Warriors.
Hello and welcome back to the 740 Sports All Access pregame show sponsored by Park Circle Cafe. And we want to once again thank Coach Donnie Kearns of the Buckeye Trail Warriors for joining us tonight. We've talked Cambridge, we've talked Buckeye Trail, and now Train. It's time to talk Meadowbrook football. And Meadowbrook, they came out of the gates flying 4-1, but the last two road games at John Glenn and then at Coshocton have kind of been tough.
yeah, those are tough places to play at. You're talking about the new facility at John Glenn. The fans are right on top of you. With Stewart Field at Coshocton right there along the river, those fans are pretty much right on top of you again there, even though for Meadowbrook's sake, it's the home, or not their home, but the Meadowbrook fans are on top of them, while at John Glenn, it's kind of a combination of both fans, but really a tough little spell here for the Colts as they took one on the chin Friday night.
Yeah, and Coshocton really got off to a good start. And Train, we talked about Coshocton 0-6, but when you look at the teams that they've played, they've been competitive in a lot of games. So that was a red flag there. And then, like you said, when Coshocton gets you in their backyard, they were due to have a game that they had this past Friday night. And unfortunately, it came at the expense of Meadowbrook.
Yeah, Coshocton and Meadowbrook's always been a tough matchup. There's something about it. I don't know if it's that wing tee. It seems like Meadowbrook has some struggles defending against it at times, and just Coshocton has always been a tough matchup, whether it's down at Meadowbrook or it's up in Coshocton. And obviously they had the Johns kid had a huge game, had 172 yards and a touchdown for him. They came out throwing punches, and they kept repeating it. I believe they were up 35-7 at the half. Coshocton was, so just really they finally got the perfect storm together. They've had a rough first 6 weeks, and then finally everything clicked for Coach Smith and his Redskins Friday night.
Yeah, Coshocton, well coached, tough kids, and trained. The one question, that you may wonder. You talk about the perfect storm for Coshocton. Really added on to that was we talked about the week before Meadowbrook 4-1, travels to New Concord, John Glenn 4-1. That was the most highly anticipated game of the season up until then. So much emotion and excitement into it. Meadowbrook loses that game, and then sometimes a loss can linger, and you wonder if maybe that didn't happen for this young Colt squad.
Yeah, I mean, it's a perfect point. You got to realize this Colt squad is still very, very young, and they're probably if you talk to some people, they're probably a little bit ahead of schedule where they're expected to be. Obviously, they had that great start winning 4 out of the first 5, but still a lot of youth on this team, and there's still a lot of learning going on. And I think a big point is that like Meadowbrook's running game hasn't been as good these past 2 weeks as it has been the first five. I'm sure Coach Norman and the offensive coaching staff's been working on that, and that's probably one of their big checklists. They're going to say is to get off the bus running come Friday night when they play New Lexington.
And Train, you make a great point there, because we had talked to Coach Norman a few days before the John Glenn game, and was talking about the biggest thing for their offense was their balance, because Meadowbrook was really running the football well. And when Huey had to throw the football, which he's very capable of doing, Meadowbrook was tough to beat. The running game has not been there the past 2 weeks. And Justice Huey has reminded folks, hey, I can still throw the football. Again, another good night passing, 269 yards. But if you become one-dimensional, especially when you get behind early like they did against the Redskins, that makes that offense moving the ball even a tougher chore.
Yeah, because when you kind of become one-dimensional, that means those guys on the line can kind of come in and charge at to try breaking through the line with reckless abandon at times. And when you're predictable in what you're running, when they know it's a pass coming, it can lead to a lot of things, because then you start kind of getting a little uptight, kind of worried, trying to, even though you're down, say 2-3 scores, you're trying to make those 2 or 3 scores up on that one play. And unfortunately, that's just youth with kids. I mean, that you just kind of have to take it that one play at a time and continue to get positive yards. But like when you want to really get back in the game and hit that big play so you can get that momentum swinging back on your side, it's tough sometimes, and you kind of get caught up and maybe make a mistake that you don't want to make.
Yeah, and the Meadowbrook defense that has been one, if not the strongest point or part of this squad this year. They've really played well this year, but Friday night just wasn't their night. And like you said, with the wing team, when Coshocton gets the running game going, and then with all the different motion and stuff, you have to trust your eyes because and know what you're supposed to key on, because if you don't, they can gash you. And the Redskins did that to their credit.
Yeah, and then we were talking earlier in the live stream here that about kids making that jump from their freshman to sophomore year. Will Smalley led the Colts in tackles with 9. It's another kid who played sparingly as a freshman, but now as a sophomore has really hit the weight room and has developed a lot. Jacob Burris, another one of those kids. I think he picked off, I think this is at least his 3rd interception of the year. It seems like every week it seems like he's making a big play on the defensive end for him. And again, 2 other young guys, Casey Clendenning and Cooper McManaway, they added 7 tackles each. So all of those guys, young members, and going to be solid contributors to this Meadowbrook defense.
Yeah, and we talked about the rushing game, under 100 yards, but Dalen Rivera had a nice game.
Yeah, he's been a little dinged up here in the mid stages of the season, but he had a nice 14 carries, 70 yards, and a touchdown, as well as a 61-yard reception. So finding ways to get him involved in the offense is going to make them better. And obviously, Black and McManaway have got to contribute there. I think that's a nice 3-headed monster that they got there in the backfield, and they can cause a lot of damage for teams.
Yeah, and for Meadowbrook, for a shot at the playoffs, Train, Meadowbrook still controls their own destiny, but their last 3 games, it's a gauntlet. We'll tell you that. A lot of points to be had, and it starts this Friday night. It'll be good. Meadowbrook's been on the road the past 2 weeks to get back home in front of the Big Orange faithful, and they got a new Lexington Panther squad coming in, led by a big play quarterback.
Oh, yeah. So you talked about that big schedule. Obviously, New Lex this Friday. Week 9 is Morgan, and Week 10 is at West Muskingum, and Morgan and West Muskingum meet this week. So obviously, the MVL title is obviously one of those boxes that they put as preseason goals at Meadowbrook. They want to win the MVL small school. Okay, they took the loss Friday to Coshocton, but they're still not out of it. They got a chance to at worst tie, depending on how the outcome of some of these other games are. So I'm sure Coach Norman's still talking to his team about that. They have goals that they have to accomplish and that they want to get. And obviously, you talked about New Lex and you talked about big play quarterback. Friend of ours, Anthony Stevens, he's an administrator down at New Lex. His son, Isaiah Stevens, big play receiver. And I know I saw on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it now, they had a little profile on him from New Lex football, and they asked him why he enjoyed playing football because he liked scoring touchdowns. So he's a chip off the old block with Dad, because I'm sure Dad probably likes scoring buckets more than touchdowns. But as long as he's scoring, everybody is going to be happy for New Lex, and obviously he's going to be a tough matchup for the Colts on Friday night.
But I know his dad, Stinger, very well. A great friend, a guy I have a lot of respect for Stinger. Stinger can shoot the three. His kid, he can shoot too, but he can sling it as well.
Oh, yeah, and he's got a couple great weapons. And Jarek Braglin, who's probably one of the better receivers in the MVL, and Bentley Hansen, two solid receivers I really have to match up with. And they have a good running back in Carson Kellogg that's really solid as well. And it just seems like it's kind of like these same names, same last names. Like New Lex seems like they always have the same last names. Kellogg's always one. Stevens, I know Isaiah's got a brother who's a freshman on the team that's one of their bigger kids that's probably going to start on the line or get some time on the line. The Hansen kid, always a name to watch out for. Obviously, another is defensively, they have a tackling machine in Harrison Ratliff.
Ratliff is a name, yes.
Another New Lex name. And speaking of that last name, I'm sure it's probably a brother or cousin. Lucas, who was a quarterback for him a few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, congratulations to him. He was OAC Defensive Player of the Week. He had 2 interceptions in Marietta's victory last Saturday.
A good deal. And you're right, New Lex, it's going to be a big test for Meadowbrook. And for Meadowbrook, remember last year's game at New Lex, it got out of hand quickly. Meadowbrook's more experienced and really looking to get back on the winning track. What's a couple of keys Meadowbrook's going to have to do to get a big home victory and stay in the MVL league race?
On the positive note on that game, that was the Justice Huey breakout game where he set the Colts record for 500 and some yards passing. I can't remember the exact total in that game. I mean, just did a good job of getting rid of it quick, hitting his receivers, and they were getting 6, 7, 8 yards. But like you said, keys for Meadowbrook, obvious, it's getting the ground game going. Meadowbrook has got to stay true to the running game. Obviously, they can pass, but they've got to stay true to the running game, get it going, play a more physical game, and really grind this game out. I think they got to show their physicality this week. They need to take out some frustration, so to speak, on New Lexington.
All right, so it ought to be a good one, and see if Meadowbrook, they keep the balance, and they cannot afford to get behind get behind like they did last week against Coshocton, as that is our buzzer.
No,
Has been
they stopped it for us.
All right. Nope.
And there it is.
All right. So that concludes our Meadowbrook segment, and we want to wish Coach Steve Norman, who will, good Lord willing, be joining us in studio next week. It'll be good to have Coach Norman back in here with volleyball. A lot of times, we meet him out there, but
he and I can discuss how disappointing of a baseball season our two teams had. So it should be a good time.
I'll bring the tissues next week, but hopefully the tissues are just for you two talking baseball, and hopefully we'll be talking about a big Meadowbrook win, but it would be a big one if they can knock off the Panthers. That game in Byesville Friday night at Eugene Capers Field. So good luck to the Colts. And that concludes our Meadowbrook segment. So we'll take a final timeout here on the 740 Sports pregame all access show, sponsored by Park Circle Cafe. And when we come back, we'll wrap things up and get you set for football Friday night after this timeout.
Hey, it's Heather from Park Circle Cafe. All of us from Park Circle would like to wish our local football teams, the cheerleaders, and the band good luck this season. If you're out this weekend, stop by Park Circle. We have live music all of September on Saturday. This weekend we have Russ Monkey, 7 to 10 on the patio. Next weekend we have Randy Gleason and a DJ and karaoke coming in. So stop by for some great food and a good time at Park Circle Cafe. Go Bobcats, Colts, Muskies, and Warriors.
Hello and welcome back to the 740 Sports pregame all access show sponsored by Park Circle Cafe. Week 8 edition is in the book. And Train, as we look forward to this Friday night, week 8, it's going to be a big one in Byesville. Meadowbrook hosting New Lexington as the Panthers come in. Meadowbrook still with a shot at least sharing the league title, but more importantly, they're looking to break this 2-game losing streak and get back on the path and back strongly in the playoff hunt. If you cannot make it to Eugene Capersfield Friday night, you can tune in to 107.9 on the radio station, and they'll be carrying the Meadowbrook New Lexington game, as well as live streamed
YRP TV.
on YRP TV. So be sure to watch it or listen to it, as well as Buckeye Trail travels to Strasburg to take on the Tigers. We had a chance to talk to Coach Donnie Kearns tonight live in the studio. Good luck to the Warriors. And if you cannot make that trek north to Strasburg, be sure to tune in to 97.7 WILE to listen to the broadcast of that game, as well as the Cambridge Bobcats travel down to Warren to take on the Warriors. Cambridge looking to get their first win of the season, and I believe because of the bad reception and stuff, as far as we know, there's no radio or live stream. So let's make the road trip down there, Bobcat Nation, and root on Cambridge. And we want to wish Coach Ray Leak and the Bobcats good luck against Warren. So that wraps up our show. Train, as always, it was a lot of fun. And we want to thank Sean and Kevon and Little Webb for jumping in tonight and producing our show this week. And as always, we want to thank Park Circle Cafe for sponsoring it. Go visit Park Circle Cafe, enjoy their great wings, plus other food as well. And be sure when you talk to Heather to thank her for sponsoring our 740 Sports All Access pregame show. We definitely appreciate their support. And for my partner in crime here, the voice of high school football, D-Train Darren McCullough, I'm merely Tom Strasser. We want to wish everyone a safe and fun-filled weekend. And on behalf of the 740 Sports All Access family, good night, everyone, and we'll see you at the football field Friday night.
You stay classy, Guernsey County.